Welcome to Reddit News. Like and subscribe or this will eat your cookies.
What generally acclaimed actor do you think is overrated? Kit Harington gets a ton of praise for Game of Thrones, but he always seems like a lost puppy to me. We're supposed to believe that Jon Snow is this amazing military strategist, inspiring thousands of men to risk their lives for his cause. The greatest king who ever was. But in all his scenes, he just looks vaguely sad and confused no matter what's happening. Vaguely sad and confused is a great way of putting it. Lol. Something about his resting expression. That may not be completely intentional, but it fits his character perfectly. It's the exact face my dog gives when I tell her my dinner isn't for her. Yeah, I was afraid to mention this one on Reddit. Kit Harington just doesn't have much range at all. He looks great on camera, but that's about it. He does staged sword fighting really well. This is true. Richard Madden is a much better actor. I'm sad he didn't last long. I was actually thinking about this recently. In hindsight, he got so lucky leaving the show early, open parentheses, when it was still good, close parentheses, and in such an iconic scene too. Everyone who acts in a movie for teenagers produced by Netflix, especially when they're 10 years older than the character they play. When did we switch to talking about the cast of Riverdale? I was referring to 13 Reasons Why, Outer Banks, etc., but them too. So in another thread about having high school dramas where they don't look like high schoolers, we discussed how they actually do in Cobra Kai. Emma Watson. I don't know. She's just not good at acting. Her performance in The Circle was meh. She was the worst part of Little Women by far. She's fine, but next to people like Saoirse Ronan and Florence Pugh, she's just not in their league. Emma's portrayal of Meg had the sweet disposition and rigid sense of propriety, but her coveting of extravagance and wealth and Meg's acquisitiveness lacked conviction. It was Meg's distinguishing flaw, but she failed to convey it, so Meg was reduced to the insignificant conventional character. She's already disparaged by modern critics with feminist sensibilities, and Emma could have imbued her performance with more mental conflict to give the character more nuance. That's a very deep take. All I thought when I saw it was how terrible her American accent is. Her American accent is also terrible in Perks of Being a Wallflower. Open parentheses. But I still love it. Leave me and my teen angst alone. Close parentheses. Great flick. Jesse Eisenberg. I still can't understand why someone chose him to play Lex Luthor. Producer. Hey, we gotta get that Breaking Bad guy to play Lex. What's his name? Heisenberg or something? Casting director. Jesse Eisenberg? Producer. Yeah, that guy. He's perfect. That actually fits. This is a genius joke. Because Cranston was considered for Luthor. He would have made such a good Lex Luthor. He's a little limited in his range. I think he's a good actor, but he seems to be the same character in most of his movies I've seen. Somewhat nerdy. Smart but aware of how smart and arrogant about it. Does that sound right? Pretty much. And occasionally paranoid. Keanu Reeves. Gunshot. He isn't a good actor though. Cool dude, but his acting just isn't good kids. People think being in good movies makes him a good actor. He is not a good actor. But honestly, he is perfect for movies like John Wick. I just can't see any other actor playing this role. He's also perfect for Bill and Ted. He's got range. I'll give him that. I don't think any other actor could play that role convincingly. Reeves is an excellent amateur three-gun shooter and is good friends with Tiger Chen, who taught him his martial arts for The Matrix. No other actor could believably sell what he does as Wick without a ton of jump cuts, which would ruin the movie. Yes, I can't imagine any other actor playing a stoic hitman. He's good in Devil's Advocate, but besides that, yeah, pretty average. Jennifer Lawrence. Actress but still applies. Edit. There you go. I think she's great, but she was terrible as Mystique, which I think has kind of lessened her reputation given the visibility of the role. Rebecca Romijn nailed the part about 1,000 times better. You could clearly tell she thought the role was beneath her and wasn't putting the effort in. McAvoy and Fassbender were acting circles around her. To be fair, Fassbender and McAvoy are two of the better working actors around now, despite some of Fassbender's choices to be in awful movies recently. Will Ferrell. Every movie where he's the lead character, it just feels like he's trying way too hard and I don't care for it. I think he did a great job, Ricky Bobby, in Talladega Nights. Still one of my favorite comedies ever. He is great in The Other Guys. That whole film is cast really well. Also, Stranger Than Fiction. Everything Must Go is decent. I did like that movie. Showed he can really act. Jason Statham. He hasn't been in anything good since Snatch. In pretty much every movie, he's an ex-cop or spy trying to put his past behind him before he gets pulled into a life-threatening / hostage-style situation, usually involving a family member or former mentor. Yeah. He's out for retribution, we get it. I get your point, but does anyone think Statham is a good actor? My impression is that he is well aware he is playing in silly but fun movies most of the time. He was really funny in Spy. Yeah, Statham as a parody of himself works really well. He should just do that. He deserves more credit than that. Comedic timing is not easy, and he nailed it. That's what I'm saying. Not everyone could have played a parody of Jason Statham as well as Statham himself. Like you said, it's not easy, and he really nailed it. Totally. Industry-wise, it's pretty well known that comedy is the hardest to pull off, because you can't just read the lines and make a face. For some reason, the general public doesn't get that comedic actors cross over successfully and serious actors often cannot. See Nicole Kidman, Gwyneth Paltrow, etc. People gush over Chris Pratt, but he's just simply a bad actor. I rewatched Zero Dark 30 last night, and every line makes me cringe. He doesn't sound natural when he delivers lines. As Andy in Parks and Rec, he's great. He just shouldn't do drama. I think Chris Pratt is more suited to comedy. Open parentheses. Essentially, that's what the Got G movies are. Close parentheses. He seems more natural as a character when the plot is, well, silly. Right? In the Jurassic World movies, he feels like Andy got tired of Burt McClan, FBI, and told April, I want to be a raptor trainer instead. And they just rolled the camera on Andy pretending to be a raptor trainer. He was good as Star-Lord too. But isn't that like Andy in space? Pretty much. Star-Lord? Legendary outlaw? Only in the first Got G. I rewatched Zero Dark 30. I agree on Chris Pratt, but come on. That movie ain't helping anyone. I really like him in Guardians of the Galaxy and Parks and Recreation. Even liked him in the Lego Movie as a kid. Any chance this movie is an outlier? I don't think he's a bad actor. He just doesn't fit certain roles. Dwayne The Rock Johnson is not that good an actor. He plays the same guy in nearly all of his movies, and now he's in every Hollywood film that gets mediocre reviews. I am 80% less likely to watch a film if he appears in it just because I'm sick of seeing his face. Also the case with Kevin Hart. He's the contemporary answer to what Arnold and Stallone were in the 80s and 90s. Charming action star without a lot of range, but good for summer action films. Dave Bautista is typecast the same. I think Dave can break out of that if directors give him the chance. His performance in Blade Runner 2049 added to the movie. If you switch The Rock in there, I don't think the same would have happened. Well, Dave Bautista is in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies and does a great job at making us laugh and believe the role. Whereas in my opinion, I believe there's no depth to Dwayne and he seems like a product of corporate board designed to entertain masses instead of an actor who cares for the role and wants to make it believable. I do agree with the comparison to Arnie and Stallone, but in no way, shape, or form are any of his movies on the same level as Arnie and Stallone's hits. Jumanji and Central Intelligence are merely kicking at the heels of Rocky, Rambo, Predator, and Terminator. But he sings in Moana. He was only cast because he's a familiar voice children can recognize. Disney does that quite often. And is actually Pacific Islander. Will Smith. How dare you? It's not that I don't think he is a good actor. I just think he plays himself in every movie. He doesn't have any range in terms of what type of character he plays, in my opinion. He has some versatility, but whenever I see him, he's always just Will Smith to me. He never seems like he is acting. My favorite example of this is Shark Tales, when he just plays Will Smith as a fish. The Pursuit of Happiness is the ultimate expression of this. Whenever he is put in any scene that he can't cope with, he turns back into the Fresh Prince. He does seem to make occasional good choices. He was in After Earth, and Suicide Squad, and Gemini Man, and just turns up and plays himself. What do you mean turning back into Fresh Prince? Because he can't vote with a scene? I would have to watch the film to pick specific incidents. Open parentheses. And there is in no way I'm sitting through that again. Close parentheses. There are a couple of times where he seems to not know what the character would do, and he just turns straight back into the Fresh Prince instead. And the director just leaves that version in. So either way, they did it again, and what he did was worse. Or, the director wasn't paying attention to the character changes when cutting it. In my IMDb review, I actually have a spoiler comment that on 2 occasions, he actually uses lines that feel like they came straight out of a Fresh Prince of Bel-Air script. The one with the Rubik Cube sticks in my mind for some reason. Watching it back quickly on YouTube out of context, as he is handed the cube, he does most of that scene in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air mode. Hater. Jeremy Renner. All the presence on screen of a wet rag. If I try to remember what he did in any movie, all I can think of is, he was just there. Not bad. Just there. He was stellar in The Hurt Locker. But that was just a well-written, intense movie all around. I still like him playing the straight man as Hawkeye, though. The Hurt Locker was amazing. Dude can act. I think it's other stuff about him that's held him back from finding roles with as much range. How would you summarize the acting career of Jeremy Renner? He's present as a cast member in some fairly average but moderately enjoyable films. His being there neither adds or subtracts from the quality of a movie overall. Ahem. Wind River? Probably his only good movie. Chloe Moretz! I think she was decent in Greta. Can't really remember anything else she's been in. I felt her role in The Equalizer wasn't a great choice. It's still a 10 out of 10 movie, 'cause Denzel, but she just seemed out of place for the character she needed to portray. I feel for her. She's more of a fetish than anything. Scarlett Johansson. One of those smirk performers who can't step outside themselves to actually play a character. Even when they think they are, it's a bad veneer instead of acting. Best case is getting cast as a character that's close to how she is. She was good in Under the Skin and Jojo Rabbit. Early Johansson acting was unbearable when she was the it girl, but I found she's improved over the years. I no longer dig my fingernails into my palms when she comes on screen. Have you seen her? Yeah, especially in her sci-fi movies, like Ghost in the Shell. Her acting ruins it for me. Under the Skin. Orlando Bloom. A die-hard proponent of the whisper everything school of acting. Except for one line in his entire career, they've taken the hobbits to Isengard. It even feels like he's whispering at Elizabeth to shoot the barrels and blow up the Kraken. Like he's definitely yelling, but maybe he isn't. What did you say? Lol. Tell me where is Gandalf, for I much desire to speak with him. And there's my inner dialogue for the day, shaking my head. I've only got one thing to say about your comment. That's not good enough. I thought it was orcs. Emilia Clarke. Blasphemy. I genuinely think she's a bad actress. In Game of Thrones, her acting just feels so forced. And don't get me started in the other movies she's been in. Absolutely terrible acting. Like so bad it's cringy. Even though I love her, I have to agree. Right? She's beautiful and cute, but I couldn't stand her acting in Solo. If we're being honest, Game of Thrones was chock full of bad actors. There were some great ones, but there were a lot of bad ones, like Kit Harington and Sophie Turner. Yeah, Dark Phoenix movie Sophie Turner has the acting range of a potato.